Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Strafe Gal. Doing kind of a special episode today. I haven't done Lufia Ancient Cave Run in a while because it's not something I've been well practiced in or doing a lot of research on. It's something I did a lot early on. And I'm doing it in particular today because this video marks the 2-year anniversary of my first video going up. I know that's not some huge milestone in general. You know, I've got 800 videos up, which feels like a lot, but at the same time, I know there's plenty of content creators out there that actually, you know, have a lot more episodes and put a lot more work into their episodes. This is still very much a hobby, but it's a hobby I've stuck to for 2 years, something I've done consistently during that time, and it's something that I'm proud of myself for doing. So, so my first video I put up was Lufia 2 Ancient Cave Run. So I'm doing an Ancient Cave Run, except for this one is actually, this is the save I made of my party from the actual Lufia 2 game. So this is after the first Ancient Cave Run I did as part of my playthrough. So they already have some special items. Before I start, I do want to I want to take a minute. I haven't really had a good opportunity to do this, and I figure 2-year anniversary might as well. I had a thing come up on my Facebook memories where some people were talking throughout it as well. So I wanted to take a moment to say some thank yous. Thank you to Kyle for giving me the inspiration to start this in the first place. I made a random post about Lufia 2 and speedrunning and a few other things, and he said, well, why don't you record it, throw it on YouTube? And I did. I gave it a shot. Thank you to Mike for keeping me honest through my runs, calling me out for all the things I should know, and coming up with some good suggestions, and also for convincing me to try the Zelda randomizer. Kyle and Mike, as well as Tony, have been my race partners for a lot of the Zelda randomizer videos I've done, which I appreciate a lot. Thank you to Beefy for the inspiration to do the XCOM videos that I put up, which have been some of my most successful series. I'm planning on doing another one at some point here, but we'll see. Thank you to Brian for the, trailing off the XCOM. He did his own, and then we also did the Mega Man contest. I'm going to go through my list because I have a bunch of people here. I don't know everybody's secondary screen name, so if I miss you, it's because your screen name is not reminiscent of your name. So thank you to Jimmy, Rick, Carrie, Matt, Paul, Nick, Matt, Tyler, Boone, Matt, Josh, Kat. I know a lot of Matts. Bob, James, Caleb, Mike, other Mike, John, Chris, Tony, Steffi, Mark, and Brian, other Brian. Special thank yous to Dora for always being supportive, helping me with my recording equipment, for making sure that I get time and space to do these recordings and get a chance to do these videos. Thank you to Brad and Malcolm recently for reminding me why these are important. The reason I started this was mostly to give myself an outlet to play video games and feel productive, and I've kind of gone back and forth as to whether I felt like anybody was really out there, depending on the day, or that it mattered, and I really appreciate the fact that Brad has mentioned it's nice to hear a familiar voice, even just in the background while you're working on stuff, and that since then Malcolm has also said that he appreciates it, and that it's something that that he can connect to, that he enjoys. So I don't think he's gonna like this run, but thank you regardless. And finally, thank you to Tara for the consistent interaction and feedback. And when I'm not sure if somebody's watching, I at least know you are, and I really appreciate it. So I know I didn't hit everybody, but this run is for all of you. So if you're not familiar with this, Lufia 2 is a Super Nintendo game. It's an RPG. And the Ancient Cave is a roguelike dungeon inside Lufia 2. Now, in the regular game, the neat thing is that you can actually... you can actually duck in and out of the Ancient Cave. As long as you get to at least floor 20, you can get an item called Provenance that lets you keep the items you find. There are also certain items that you find in the game that you can just bring in. So this is actually a save file from my full run of Lufia 2 that had some of these items from my first run, or from my regular playthrough of the game, like the Catfish Jewel. I think we'll go Catfish Jewel there to give everybody the full guts rate. Well... So we're gonna get everybody equipped here. We're actually gonna do this because Selen currently is the only one with actual armor. So yes, this is a roguelike 100 floor dungeon. The enemies change as we go. One of the neat things with Lufia 2 that we're gonna find out right away here is the way enemies move is actually different from for each enemy. And so if you're not careful, you can end up getting into sneak attacks like this, but if you are careful, you can avoid them and possibly get an advantage on your enemies. So we are super over-equipped on several of our characters right now. Basically, everybody but Maxim is actually in really good shape. So we can be fairly carefree during this first section and fully explore it. Normally we want to be fairly quick about it. We don't want to linger too long if we actually want to beat the jelly. Oh, I suppose that's worth mentioning as well. There's a... Oh crap, I have flash still. That's one fight. We'll get switched out quick. Oh crap. Well, Gusto's terrible. I mean, we could do Blaze, I guess. He's not great, though. I forgot about the fact that we didn't have all our capsule monsters. No, we'll just stick with it. So normally, as we go through this run, our goal is to avoid monsters for the most part. The items that are distributed are random, but you will get higher level items as we get higher in the dungeon. And the monsters will increase in difficulty as we get further in the dungeon. Now, in order to actually beat the boss at the end of this, we're going to have 3 rounds to actually kill him. And he is a extremely powerful. Not in terms of how much like damage he does, but in terms of we have a clock and we have to do enough damage to him in 3 turns. That was terrible. But I don't think it matters. So generally your goal is to get as much equipment as you can, and a lot of specific equipment that lets you kind of pick and choose your way through and do a lot of damage in a short order, which include things like the Mega Axe, which actually is not as good, but combined with the Gorgon Rock could be good. And that's actually the wrong Gorgon Rock. I'm on top of this. The more important one is the Gades Blade, which lets you do 8 attacks. This is your finisher. So our goal is going to be to find an item that lets us do percentage-based damage first. There's a lot of items that do like deal damage equal to a quarter of your enemy's health, or something like that. And if we can get one of those before we then do the Octo Strike, that gives us enough ground to hopefully kill this thing, or the jelly, in 3 turns. Now we also have to get to it, and the last 10 floors or so, 20 floors, are terrifying, and there are several other sections where if we don't have the right items and the right levels, we're just gonna die horribly. There's nothing super exciting in this game, or in this dungeon, until we get down to floor 4. But there are some bonuses to actually looking around on the first 10 floors, because that's the only place you can get a lot of accessories until fairly late game, with a few exceptions of special gear. But generally, armor and like helmets and stuff very rarely show up in treasure chests after the first 10 floors because of a bug. I will also just say right now, this is not the ideal party, but you can't actually use the ideal party from a real game save file. You can only do it when you're playing in gift mode. And so this is the closest you can get to that. Normally we'd have Artie instead of Selen, or Tia, because Tia is faster and has better magic than Selen. But her equipment's worse, and she's way weaker, so there's that. Kind of balances out. Selen's really mediocre in this game. They made her very average. The important part is really just having Guy and Dakar. Maxim is generally kind of terrible as a whole. Oh, good. Flash is being useful. By the way, all that damage at the bottom, we have not actually taken damage. It's just that when you level up, your stats, your maximum HP goes up, but your current does not. I mentioned capsule monsters briefly. I wanted to switch Flash out. There's a few of them that are much more reliable for actually contributing damage throughout this game. Flash's main purpose is as a healer, and when he actually heals you, it's very handy because right now we don't have a lot of ways to heal. You have to find magic in treasure chests, and we have found, I think, a sleep spell and a, like the lowest level wind spell right now. We have not found any healing spells, and we probably will not. Well, there's always a chance you will, and I hope we will, but I'm not gonna count on it, I guess. If we don't, it's a lot lower chance we'll actually survive. But in the meantime, when Flash is actually happening to heal the right person at the right time, it's actually useful. Even when we do get healing spells, MP is a resource. It's very difficult to actually keep your MP full unless you get the Absorb spell or a item that will give you MP back. And I guess that's as good a time as any to talk about IP effects. So you may have, when I went to each item, I went and looked at a special ability it does. That's called their IP effect. And at the bottom of each character's portrait there, they have 3 levels. They're HP, MP, and IP. IP is accumulated by taking damage. It's probably going to be a while before we actually get any IP, because enemies are going down really fast, and because Selen and Guy, our frontliners, are very well equipped for this area at this point. Generally, you should have very low very low defense, and right now we have actually, I know Selen's is ridiculous right now. Dakar's will probably still end up highest eventually. Just because he gets such high natural defense. But Dakar's actually he's very strong, but he's very nothing else for quite a while. And part of the reason for that is because he's actually not designed to even be played at these low levels. There's some problems that I guess not problems necessarily, but the leveling scales for certain characters actually get really weird at very high and very low levels, because, like, Tia is not meant to be played late in the game. You're not meant to get to level 99 with her. And Dakar, you don't actually recruit until he's a slightly higher level, so there's no reason he would normally be played at level 5. And we got a blue chest. So the blue chests are the ones that, oh, that's unfortunate. The blue chests are the items that you can actually take with you out of the dungeon. A lot of times they're very, very powerful. In this particular case, unfortunately, it looks like we got a crappy one. Specifically because there's a lot of headgear pieces for female characters only. one of the advantages of having Selen is the fact that we get to use, or over Artie, is we get to use the female-only equipment, and yeah. I'll be honest and say I was hoping for one of the shield items or another weapon. Specifically like a sizzle sword or something that Maxim could use. Because having all 4 characters actually get good blue chest items early on would go a long way. Maxim's probably going to end up with a deadly sword if we find one, which is a cursed item that becomes very, very powerful because having the dark element means that it has a chance for automatically killing things. And it has one of those percentage-based IP attacks that I mentioned. So they're useful. And Maxim and Selen are the 2 who are going to be able to use those. Because we're going to want Dakar and Guy with, honestly, probably the items they're currently using. We may have Dakar use something else for a while. The exception would be if we get the Dakar Blade. Which is only usable by Dakar and takes off 50% of the enemy's hit points in the first round. We're going to be a little over-leveled for this area because I am actually going through and killing everything. I figure since we're so over-equipped to start with, it can't hurt to also just utilize the fact that you're not going to be burning resources healing and such, while there's nothing dangerous. It also means that the core enemies are going to be less useful in this run, but which takes a little bit more time, but is much more it's safer. We're gonna go early game safety. Which, just for the record, since I didn't say it expressly, Guy is very powerful right now. The Mega Axe he's using is actually, I think, the most powerful weapon in the entire game. So the fact that we're starting with that goes a really long way. The Gades Blade that Dakar is using is not as powerful. It just has a very strong IP effect. I mean, it's still more powerful than pretty much anything we're using or finding right now. Okay, floor 6. At this point, we should be able to find deadly rods or deadly swords in treasure chests. No dangerous enemies yet. We may want to avoid some of these. Not that they're particularly scary, but they can cause poison, which we don't actually have a good way to get rid of. Those are the ones that can cause poison, so we're skipping them. It's not like we're going to do that forever. It's just right now, especially, we don't actually have a good way to heal at all, including the poison element. So... I guess, real quick, just to, since I haven't mentioned it, there are, like, rows in this game. You can see, this big bat is a little bit forward. If you look at the shadow especially, he's, like, probably 10 pixels down on the screen from the other one. The front line are going to take and receive more, or take and deal more damage, and the back row are going to take less until the front row is gone. So I try and, especially with Maxim, I'm going to try and have him attack the front row. And I'm going to try and have everybody else attack not the guy Maxim attacked. Most of the time, because there's a much better chance. If it happens to come back around to Maxim, I want him to be able to get that second attack on an enemy he's already hit once, since he's so much weaker than everybody else. Not that he is particularly weak right now, it's the problem is that everybody else is just stupidly powerful. Thunder Axe, wish I had... Thunder Axe is Dakar only. Or Dakar and Guy. Rather. Sullen. So not weapons that Maxim can use. Go, Flash. So, this is another important thing as far as scary enemies goes. If you can see there, the treasure chest is a slightly different shade of yellow. That is not actually a treasure chest, that is a mimic. It will kill us. Okay, it may not actually kill us because of the bruise armor and stuff, but it will kill a good chunk of the party and it is not worth it. Okay, floor 8. We're still in Mimics. Looks like this is a no one of the short floors with no treasure chests. Again, it's randomly generated, so that happens. I think that's the first time someone's gotten hit. Judging by their IP. Nice. So the iris items are another set of items that you can pull out of the cave. They don't do anything, but if you find all of them, you get a non-reward. You get told good job. I think there's 10 of them total, and they are not in any way, shape, or form worth it. That's a mimic. Okay, we are out of mimic range. Just kind of not super concerned about fighting everything for a little bit here. I'm actually at the level I wanted to be at for this area. Not that I'm gonna turn down extra levels or item drops, but since we're in good shape, I don't want to draw this out and make it take forever by grinding out extra levels that I don't need. If I happen to get into a couple fights, it's not gonna make me lose any sleep. Okay, floor 11. This is gonna be the first round for cores. Cores are enemy that give a very high chance of, or a very high rate of XP, but they are also extremely high evasion and a chance to run away. That's right, Gady's Blade is Dark Element, so Jakar can't actually fight undead. We'll need to remember that going forward. Levels. A lot of these items, the reason I'm not even bothering to look at them are because they are lower level items for Selin especially, and occasionally for like Guy. There's a core. Hey, we got a kill. Two. Usually at least one of them will run away. So 4,000, basically 4,500 XP there. 2,200 apiece. Really solid. And we just got a couple levels out of it. Multi-sword can be okay. It's better than what he's been using, at the very least. You can see they're maxing this to attack twice now because of the multi-sword. We're also starting to get to enemies that can actually take a hit, comparatively. We're going to avoid the rest of these type of enemies, I think, when we can. They clearly take too long to kill. Nice. You can see there, Guy's defense is actually getting to the point where it's almost even with Selen's, even though he's not wearing armor. He's wearing some special items to boost it, but it's still this very... There's a big gap between the base defense ratings for characters. Okay. Only saw one set of red cores, which is kind of annoying. We're down to 14. Want to be careful because there's an enemy called Wispies that are going to show up here, or that could show up here. That was a Wispy. We don't want to get into a fight with it because it is a good chance of doing a lot of damage to a group. Now he's stuck on the door. They're very fast, and they do an area of effect that hits your entire party for lightning damage, generally before you get a chance to act. And while that's not the end of the world, area of effect spells, especially when we don't have healing magic, is a huge tax on resources. Just in case. Hey, poison. We can actually cure the poison status now. That's what that does. Nice. Once again, Takar's weapon is Dark Element. You cannot actually damage these enemies. Darn. I mean, not that it really matters. We're gonna kill him either way, but I was hoping Maxim could get a kill by himself. Okay. We actually really want to fight these guys because there's an enemy here called Fighter Orc. And they have a chance to drop an item called a Power Gourd, which, depending on our setup for endgame, we may need. Basically, when we... it gives you a boost to attack power, which if we... There we go, one Power Gourd. Depending on what all we get for spells and stuff, we can... There's better ways to buff, but it's an item-based buff for your attack, which we can give to the car with the Gades blade. so that each of those 8 attacks does additional damage. Okay, that's an enemy called a Winger, which is really annoying. They actually have a potential for an AoE effect, which again, we don't want. There we go. Valor's a resurrection spell. Technically also heals. We can use it. It's not necessarily going to be super useful. It's not an efficient healing spell. We'll go with that. But it is good. So I really shouldn't have done that in retrospect. But yeah, Valor's the most powerful healing spell in the game effectively. It resurrects also. So it's kind of a little of both. We really don't want to fight that guy if we don't have to, so we're not going to. I believe that should be a sand golem, which are really nasty enemies. Okay. And that looks like a couple of really crappy enemies to fight right off the bat. Go. Okay. And I think he can kill him. Yeah. These guys are really annoying, so we're just gonna try and get past them instead of fighting them. Probably gonna do another 10 floors or so and then take a break. We'll try to break it down into 30s at least, or 30 or so per. Like I usually do. Unless I get a second wind here. Yeah. Earth Viper's having a special ability called Sandstorm, which we haven't seen yet. That's why we're doing things the way we're doing. Trying to be careful of not getting hit with that. Because it hurts. Again, AoE is very bad, especially before we get access to good healing magic. We'll just keep using some regular potions for now. Try to keep our characters, 100-ish HP. I don't want to burn my MP stuff until I get a higher max, since the max doesn't, or your current doesn't go up when you get max, just like with HP. The one item we've got for that, or the two items we've got for that rather, are Miracle, which is a full heal, full MP, and resurrection and status go away. Which is overkill right now. Or, what is it? I think there was an X magic. Yeah. Oh, and a high magic, okay. Which, both of those are higher end MP restores, so there's a good chance that we'd be wasting some of it by using it now. I'm not 100% sure on that, but generally speaking, that's about where we're at. That's a bee. We don't want to fight bees. We should be okay on this, I think. Most of our other characters are going to be doing elemental damage, so it's going to be much higher. Providence, nice. So if we feel so inclined, we can now exit the dungeon and start over. We really don't have a reason to right now, but it's good to have the item just so you've got it out of the way. As I go through, I will probably be, like I said, when I take breaks, I'll be saving, so we'll see where we're at. Sure. Let's see how it works. That's gonna be a close one. Okay, so 25, we're adding another couple items to the pool. There are items called... Ooh! That's another healing spell. Regular healing spell. Not a resurrection spell, which means it's also more efficiently costed. But yeah, we've got items called the Red Saber, the Mist Rapier, and the Crystal Wand added to the pool. The first two are items that can be used by Maxin. So there are top tier pulls right now. Red Saber, Mist Saber, or Mist Rapier. We'd also very much be happy with, Deadly Sword, Deadly Rod. Dakar Blade. Yeah, it's slightly worse right now, but we'll be using that later. So we're in really good shape for an actual completion if we can get there. And actually with healing magic in tow now, we're actually starting to look better. As long as we don't get reckless. We're still looking at about the same level that we had been. The next set of core enemies, our goal would have been to, if we were doing the speedrun style, would have been to get up to 16 from those guys. And we're already past that, so we are in very good shape as far as that goes. I'm actually going to go ahead and spend Maxim's MP here on a champion. And we get our first party room. Glad I healed. That's not good, actually. Okay. Only one of them did incendiary. If two of them had, that would have been very bad. And that's still not great. Nice. One. So, party room refers to basically a floor where all of the enemies and treasure chests ended up in one room. It's both a good thing in that there's a bunch of treasure chests and a bad thing in that there's a bunch of enemies to navigate through, especially when in this sort of situation where there are a bunch of very nasty enemies to deal with. I don't think there were a ton here, but there were enough. Crap, these guys are undead. So we're gonna spend our first miracle here. I specifically spent Maxim's MP so that when he died next, or he had an opportunity, I could use a miracle on him. It's not ideal, but it'll work. That's a lot of enemies and additional bees. I think we're gonna start just heading out. Not worth it. We'll make sure the stairs aren't in there, but... we don't want anything to do with any sea creatures. I don't think those ones are super... Wow. This is better than the last one. But not much. I just don't want these guys sitting around while we're trying to navigate the room. The teleporter is going to get in the way. A lot of these other ones, we can at least somewhat predict what they're going to be trying to do. I don't think Dakar Blades will work for where we're at. Wish we had a cheaper healing spell still. I mean, it's better than having to toss Valor every time we do this, but okay. See if this works. And actually, them attacking Flash is, in this case, a good thing. Flash resurrects at full health at the beginning of each fight, so it's not going to be the end of the world if he doesn't get the XP from a few of these fights. The octopi are ones we definitely don't want to deal with, so we're going to avoid those. The snails may actually be okay. You may notice my movement gets really choppy when I'm in a room like this. That's a second to Carblade. Wow. Okay. The enemies only move when you move. So if we time out our movement, we can prevent the enemies from completely screwing us over. Where are we at? Okay. And there's our deadly sword, finally. Let's make sure it's the right one. I'm not going to equip it yet, because I don't have a curse lifter. It is the right one. There's actually two deadly swords that have the same name, but different effects. This is the one we want. We need a curse lifter first, though. Just in case we need to take it off. But currently, that'll actually make, actually killing stuff a lot easier. Yeah, like I said earlier, Deadly Sword has a chance at instant death. The nice thing for that will be that Maxim can just instantly kill things. The downside with that is that it makes him completely worthless against undead enemies. Looks like we're just gonna have to fight this. Let's make sure there's nothing too bad. Yeah, these guys aren't that bad, okay. So I've been needlessly avoiding these guys is basically what I just found out. Not like it's the big deal, but yeah. Okay, so we want to watch for blue mimics in this floor. It's really just making me want to use his, give him the deadly sword even more, but we really need the cursed lifter before we do that. If we don't have a way to get it off, then we don't want it for the slime. We are actually in a party setup that could take the slime right now. Or is heading that direction. Another multi-sword. Magic, that's good. Make it easier to heal. That is a mimic. You can tell because it has that little, slightly more matte color. It doesn't have the same sheen. We're gonna go around and just take the stairs, I think, at this point. I probably just trapped myself in this room unless I want to fight that thing, but oh well. I'm probably okay fighting it. I just would prefer not to. Okay, I'm totally lost now, but that's okay. There we go. Okay, so we're at level 21, heading into floor 30, and this is going to be the time for my first break. So hopefully you're still enjoying. If you are, please give me a like and subscribe. Check out the other content on my channel. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments, and as always, have a good one. Thanks again for 2 years.